I just want to try and be brief because we have a lot of speakers and we have someone coming on to sing towards the end of the meeting as well. So what I want to say is that what we are witnessing today in Gaza is something that started in Palestine in 1947. We are witnessing the destruction of the Palestinian people. We are witnessing the destruction of the last resistance to the Israeli occupation. We are witnessing what happened in 1948 when 750,000 Palestinians were expelled. We are witnessing what happened in 1967 when there was another 350,000 Palestinians expelled. And what's been happening in the West Bank every day since. And what has been allowed to happen by the international community, by our governments, and who have not sanctioned Israel, who have not sanctioned Israel for their human rights abuses, who have rewarded Israel for its human rights abuses. How many Palestinians have to die before people take notice? How many Palestinians before our governments act? We have to act ourselves. We have to put pressure on our government. I hope this meeting will send a signal to our government that they're on the wrong side. They're on the wrong side. How did our government get occupied by Zionism? How did our national media get occupied? How did our print media get occupied? We have to end the occupation, but we have to end the occupation first. We have to end the occupation of our government. We have to end the occupation of our media before we can hear the Palestinian narrative, before we know exactly what's happening in Palestine, before we know what's happening in the West Bank. Every day is in the West Bank. Every day a house is demolished, olive trees are burned down. Every day Palestinians are being dispossessed. And we've witnessed not the war on Gaza, the slaughter in Gaza, and the destruction of the houses of Gaza, and the destruction, and it's another chapter of the destruction of the Palestinian people. And we have to stop it. It is up to us. Our governments aren't acting, but we can act and we will act. Enda Kenny and Charlie Flanagan says Israel has a right to defend itself. Well, but it must be proportionate. What I say to them, what about the Palestinian right to defend themselves? What about the Palestinian rights? What would be the proportionate response of the Palestinian people to their destruction? Enda Kenny, get off the fence, get behind human rights. It's time to end the occupation of the Gaza by Zionism. Barack Obama and John Kerry are concerned with civilian casualties. Their concern is so much and so deep and so sincere that they are rushing more arms to Israel to supply the artillery shells that have been killing Palestinians for the last 3 weeks. That is the depth of their concern. That is the depth of their hypocrisy. We do not stand that anymore. Thank you. We have to end Israel's impunity. We have to end Israel's preferential trade agreement with the European Union. We have to get Israel's access to 77 billion of European Union grants, which includes our taxpayers' money. We have to get that stopped while they are committing war crimes in Gaza. We have to end Israel's impunity. And we have to act ourselves, because we have to put the pressure on, and we can do it. And we did it with South Africa, and we got South African goods banned here in 1985. We can do it again. We can do it again with Israeli goods. And the town of Kinvara in Galway has given us an example. of what we can do, what community groups can do, what local people can do. And I know I had a call from Crossmaglen the other day in the office, and they said they're starting a community boycott. I know in the Stole, where I come from, my family are starting a community boycott as well. And it will spread to other communities. And that's what we need, communities, to go out, local communities, and to start the boycott and not to stop. So I would urge people not to forget what's happening in Palestine after today, and if there is a ceasefire, if there is a truce, just to remember that it will be still happening in the West Bank, it will be still happening all over Palestine. Palestinians will be killed. Israel has resumed live fire in the West Bank against peaceful demonstrations, and many people are being wounded in the West Bank, and many people are being killed since the attack on Gaza. So what I'm asking people to do is to stay engaged. I'd like you to join either the IPSC with the IPSC. There's other groups involved as well. There's Gaza Action Ireland, there's Sadaka, there's the Irish Anti-War Movement, there's Friends of Palestine. And I know there was great work done in Belfast and Derry with convoys to Palestine, Derry Friends of Palestine and Belfast Friends of Palestine as well. And I thank them for their work, and I thank them for raising the issue of Gaza. And many people, since the siege was implemented, many people in this country have been raising the issue of Gaza. And I know with the Irish ship to Gaza, which sailed in 2011, €170,000 was collected from north and south. There was a skydive in Derry, car washes in Limerick, quizzes all over the place, and people were giving money. 170,000 was collected in the middle of the depression. So people do support Gaza. It's just our government don't. I just want to end. I read this piece last week, and I'd like to read it again because I think it's just so thoughtful and it's just so accurate of what's happening in Palestine and particularly what's happening in Gaza today. And this was an email written from Rafa in 2003 on the 27th of February when Rachel Corrie stood in front of a Palestinian home that was being bulldozed, that was due for demolition. Israel was going to demolish 12,000 homes in Gaza to make a buffer zone for their border, for their legal border. There are 800,000 refugees in Gaza who have a right to return to their homes in what is now southern Israel. But Rachel Corrie stood in front of a Palestinian home, and on the 27th of February, she sent this email to her parents in America. All of the situation that I tried to enumerate above, and a lot of other things, constitute a somewhat gradual, often hidden, but nevertheless massive removal and destruction of the ability of a particular group of people to survive. This is what I am seeing here. The assassinations, rocket attacks and shooting of children are atrocities. But in focusing on them, I'm terrified of missing their context. The vast majority of people here, even if they had the economic means to escape, even if they actually wanted to give up resisting on their land and just leave, which appears to be maybe the least nefarious of Sharon's possible goals, can't leave. Because they can't get into Israel to apply for visas, and because their destination countries won't let them. Both our country and Arab countries. So I think when all means of survival is cut off, in a pen that is Gaza, which people can't get out of, I think that qualifies as genocide. Even if they could get out, I think it would still qualify as genocide. And Rachel Corrie was murdered. She was crushed to death by a Caterpillar D9 bulldozer on the 16th of March 2003. A bulldozer supplied to the Israeli military by the US military. And that was Rachel Corrie's words. Thank you very much. Thank you.